Hello and welcome back to the Futurism at JHU podcast, video edition.
Yeah, for those of you lovely viewers that are watching through YouTube, we have video now, and if you're not watching through YouTube, you should go check it out.
You finally did it.
For sure. So now you get to see the ugly faces, our beautiful faces behind the podcast.
I am beautiful. You better tell me that in the comments or I will be really sad.
So yeah, I'm Nicholas.
Ricardo.
And I'm John.
And we're kind of the trio for this semester, core trio for Futurism. We just thought you might enjoy a video format, so it's more interesting than staring at like a visualizer on YouTube. But obviously, we'll still continue Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But anyways, so today's podcast, we're actually trying something a little different. It's season 2, first episode, so we're like, might as well try something. So each of us came in with a topic we want to discuss, and we'll kind of each introduce our ideas and go from there. Maybe tackle one of them, maybe tackle all of them. But we hope you'll enjoy what we'll discuss. So starting it off, have a little story actually.
Okay.
Ricardo, really buff dude. He's been getting me into working out.
Yes. Nice.
You know, we wake up 5:30 in the morning, and he has this ritual of blending almond smoothies in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And so
At 5:30 a.m.
at 5:30 a.m.
I make breakfast.
You don't
otherwise,
disturb people with that?
Well, I hoped I wasn't, but like
So essentially one of our actually my room and one of our roommates' rooms are right next to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So when he's blending it, you can hear it.
Yeah, it's very audible.
I was very curious what was going on at 5:30 in the morning one time, but I've been able to sleep through it. But you know, it's been bothering the roommates. But anyways, the point is he makes an almond smoothie, and we were talking and thinking about what a great food almonds are, right? Very protein rich, very fat, good fat rich.
Yeah.
And but they're also very water intensive. So it got me thinking about kind of the economics and sustainability of our food ecosystem and kind of what goes into creating things that end up on our plate, like
Right.
almonds and meat, especially, and dairy and vegetables, soy, rice are kind of the big ones that come to mind. So I was kind of interested in talking about, like, I guess it's more from like a sustainability and economic standpoint, kind of the future of food, if we can make things more, less water intensive, less energy intensive, nicer for the environment, nicer for animals. Lab-grown meat is one thing I've been very passionate about. If we could, you know, still have people eat meat. I mean,
Yeah.
I like meat. I was kind of a vegetarian for a couple years at the start of the pandemic, and then kind of switched back over because I was worried about some like health issues.
Yeah, it's especially
and
hard trying
vitamin
to get
deficiencies, and I'm also trying to get big like Ricardo now.
Exactly.
It's a little
you need,
easier.
You need a lot of protein for that, and like
It's a little easier
meat,
when
not
you
gonna
have-
lie, it's
yeah.
the best source.
Yeah, so that was something I'm really interested in, is can we make our food more sustainable and also increase access around the world for people to be able to eat food,
Right.
Because we're also in a huge, you know, hunger crisis. I mean,
Right.
there's like over 1 billion, maybe 2 billion people who are like starving or
Right.
are very or don't have good access to food
Yeah.
or water for that
Right.
matter.
2 billion.
So that was, it's it's probably
That's
more.
huge.
It's probably more. That's the statistic I remember reading a couple weeks back. But,
Right.
So that was my topic. What were you guys interested in?
I just wanted to expand on yours.
You want to
'cause I-
spend? All right.
Yeah, and then we can like switch off.
All right,
like,
let's
you know.
tackle it. So what do you guys think?
I think personally, I love the idea of like being able to have better food, right? Just overall, you know, we all need the most nutritious food, especially like people that exercise. Like for example, it would be so nice to just like not having to worry about like getting enough protein in, right? Just getting what you need, eat whatever you want, and like getting the most nutrients out of it. Like that's great. And especially with the whole like water thing, I think one of the things we need to think about and sort of like destigmatize is the whole GMO thing, right? Like genetically
Yeah.
modified.
If people, a lot of
plants,
people
right?
don't even know what that means. It's
Right, okay,
genetically
basically-
modified organisms.
Yeah.
That's it.
Genetically modified organisms. And this is the thing. A lot of people don't know this, but every plant, every vegetable that you eat is in one way or another already genetically modified because we as humans have chosen which vegetables we want to harvest. So through the ages, through, you know, the reproduction of plants, we've been able to narrow down the attributes that we want in plants and in our vegetables, be it looks, be it taste, be it just overall like persistence to droughts and stuff like that. So all vegetables that you get, even though they're organic, they're still GMOs. Like, you just have to accept that.
Yeah, it's hard to like imagine, visualize, but you see those things every once in a while where it's like, oh, 100 years ago, a piece of corn looked like this.
Yeah, and it's true. Like,
And you know, and now we have, you know, a huge like abundance, but people don't realize that it took years and years and years to get there, and it's a GMO.
one of the prime examples is actually bananas. Like, bananas, how they look 100 years ago. Bananas used to have like these little like
Seeds.
seeds
Yeah,
inside of
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Those are non-existent anymore in bananas.
Yeah.
The reason for it is that the original like banana that took over the world, basically, like the ones that became really popular, was struck by a disease. And they had to figure something out. They had to change the formula for how a banana would look and feel. And through getting a whole bunch of different species of bananas, they chose the one that was resistant to that specific virus, the specific bacteria. I'm pretty sure it was a virus. And they made it like the marketing giant that it is today, like the one that we know as the banana.
The iconic banana, Donkey Kong banana.
Very iconic.
Yeah.
Both Ricardo and I really like bananas.
Yeah.
But you know
We're talking
the,
about it.
I mean, I love bananas. Don't get me
Who
wrong, but
doesn't?
you know the in candy, like the Laffy Taffy, the
Mhm.
banana flavor. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that's the flavor of the old bananas. Like, it's the
Oh,
flavor
really?
is
Think
still
so?
preserved, because if you eat a banana candy, does it really taste like a banana?
No.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Not really.
Exactly. So I'm pretty sure those old, you know, candies that have been around for ages actually preserve the flavor of old bananas, which is why they taste so different from actual
That might
bananas.
actually be true, because I feel like it's easier to change. In a way, it's easier to just keep the flavor than to like try and reshape it into the new standard.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, people like it. You know?
Yeah, and they keep
it's a
buying
piece of history. Grape flavors don't taste like grapes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that might have something to do with it, or it
Yeah.
might just be you just can't replicate a grape, something like that. I don't know.
It might be it. But yeah, like, and that's one of the things that I like wanted to talk about. It's just like we have to sort of destigmatize the whole GMO thing. I get that there are some worries behind it, right? Like, maybe you don't want like a scientist like doing stuff to your food. I get it. But at the same time, if rice could take half of what the water is needed to produce it, that's a huge amount of water that we
Well,
could
wait.
save.
Why don't we want scientists messing around with our food? We have scientists messing around with like every other part of our lives. We have exercise science.
Right.
We have like people back in the day that
That's the
used to
thing.
just
I feel like
lift
it's
heavy
more of
boxes.
I feel like it's more of a hysteria thing, right? We don't like when people control what we do, regardless of if it's good or bad.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
realistically.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
You know, we are not as free as we think we are.
exactly.
Oh.
But at the same time, like, sometimes we just have to trust that they're doing these things for the better good. Because if, for example, let's say we just don't do anything about the amount of water that goes into like our vegetables and everything, that could potentially be cause for like a drought or not having enough vegetables. So it's either of the two. But if you're able to optimize how much a vegetable like rice or like, you know, anything really is able to hold water and make use of it rather than just like passing it by, that is extremely useful for the sake of everyone having drinking water or just more water to go around for vegetables and more food.
That reminds me, actually, I was watching this video of this guy where it's like 99.3% or whatever of the world is salt water.
Yeah.
And somehow we've chosen the other, actually technically less than 0.7%, because I think it's like 0.1%
Yeah.
is actual like potable, like drinkable water. The other's like trapped in like glaciers or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, how did we choose the 0.1% for like toilet water? I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe we should, you know, be looking at salt water or other sources.
I
Or-
mean, just thinking about that, I don't want to play, devil's advocate, but that would be a lot of infrastructure.
Yeah.
I do believe in gray water, though. They actually have
gray
something
water,
gray
like
water.
Rainwater.
No, not even like just gray water where you shower with fresh water,
Oh.
and then that dirty water
I see what you
becomes
mean.
your toilet water.
Bro,
I mean-
that sounds worse.
No.
Really? You think so? Because
mean-
it's it's gray. It's like soaped water.
I
or
mean, I know in
something.
San Diego they're doing a thing where they're gonna like treat sewage water and they're gonna make that like drinkable water.
I mean, as long as it's this is the thing. Maybe I'm very like one-sided on this, but I don't care as long as I can use it and it tastes just as well. I really don't care where it comes from. That's
yeah,
why
no.
I'm able to eat a
Gray
hot dog.
water you don't drink. You put it in the toilet.
Yeah.
It's like your
I see.
toilet water.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
not like
so-
drinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but who cares about toilet water?
Exactly.
So, yeah, exactly.
Like,
So
why would
you're not
yeah,
washing your
makes
hands with
sense.
it. You're
Yeah.
not drinking it.
I agree.
It's
I
just
agree.
the stuff
Yeah.
that comes off in the shower, goes into your toilet, and then
Yeah.
it gets a second life.
Yeah, toilets use so much water.
They do.
It's like crazy. It's like, don't we have a better way? I know there's like the two option toilets now, like the dual flush stuff, where it's like
Yeah.
number 1, number 2, different amounts of water, obviously, but still, it's like 1.6 gallons or whatever per flush. It's like,
Yeah,
why?
it's really ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, can we think of something better?
I think
I know there's like waterless like urinals, for example.
Yeah.
Like that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How do you guys have any ideas for how we could like create less water usage?
We
in
could go
toilets?
to like back in the day where you just have holes.
You could do that.
You know how many holes we would have?
Right, but then I guess to a certain
Toilets
degree,
are
that's also,
holes,
but to a certain
That's
degree, that's also
true.
fertilizer.
essentially. Yeah, exactly.
To a degree.
We'd
I
be
mean-
more in tune with the natural environment,
You know, I live in a row house,
Oh.
and nothing really grows in the
Oh.
backyard because it's just an awful condition. But I don't know how much, pooping in the ground would help, if I'm being honest.
It probably
And I mean,
would.
you guys live in an apartment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, would you really want to go outside and poop in a hole and go back in?
No, we could have an infrastructure where we just move that to where it can be processed for fertilizers.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
it
think
still
that's a
takes
great
a lot
idea.
of infrastructure.
I think actually what you're saying is like we have the infrastructure to move feces.
I mean,
But-
that happens.
But maybe if we could like divert it
yeah.
to a different facility, because I don't know this. I don't think a lot of people know this. I don't know what happens in wastewater sewage plants. I used to be environmental engineering major,
Right.
so probably right about now would be the time that I'd be finding out what exactly goes on in those places. But I want to know, like, where does it all go? Go to a landfill? Does it go into like a tank and just sit there? And where does the water that goes along with it, where does that go?
I don't want to make guesses, but I thought it went to the ocean. Like
This is
they
a
kind of
question
just
of
dump
the
it
day.
there.
Yeah, I guess.
But
You can look this up.
It's probably
on
also
your
very
own.
toxic. So,
Definitely.
but to be fair, I mean,
I
I don't
Yeah.
think people care about. I know there's
Yeah.
a lot of toxic stuff put in
when
water.
you flush the toilet, the last thing you're thinking about is the ocean.
It reminds me of what Ehrenheim is one of my professors for computer science, innovation, entrepreneurship. Basically, like in that class, we just make ideas, try to make something out of it. One of the things that he said, and like one of his biggest worries, and also things that he likes to focus on is like garbage, because you throw it out, like magic, it just kind of disappears, right? Like you don't know what happens to it. But theoretically, there's a lot of ways that you can reuse a lot of this stuff. And not only that, one of the exercises that he did is just think about the fact that maybe one day we just don't have trash cans. Where does the trash go now? What do you do with it? If you had no possibility of throwing it out, you would have to figure out a way to convert it into something useful, because otherwise you just don't want to have it around.
You
That's
just
a good
wouldn't.
point.
You would waste very little.
Either that, yeah, because the only thing, most of the other stuff can be converted into something else. The only thing that always 100% goes bad is organic material. But even that can be turned
You
into
can compost.
it.
Yeah.
So theoretically, everything can be remachined.
You'd probably consume a lot less too.
Yeah,
You think about it, you probably if you saw, I don't know, when they cut up those fruits and they put them in the plastic container.
Yeah,
If you saw that and then you saw a bunch of bananas, you can do something with every part of that, bunch of bananas.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You can use every part of it. So if you couldn't throw the banana peels out, you'd probably go and
Probably eat it.
buy, eat the banana peel, find a way to make a tea out of it or something.
Yeah,
people
I
are,
heard that.
people
banana
are
milk tea.
really,
Yeah.
really clever nowadays when it comes to using that stuff. And you'd probably you'd err on the side of less waste because it's less for you to deal with.
Yeah.
I will say that got me thinking about there's a huge disconnect between consumers and what's going on behind the scenes.
Oh, definitely. Out of sight, out of mind.
We hardly understand anything that's going on. If you really think about it, we use these devices every day. I don't understand how computers work. I know you guys are probably more.
I understand a little bit. Like,
I mean, you're computer science, so
computer science is not the same thing as computer engineering. I'll be the first one to say that. You know,
That's true.
That's true. One of our roommates is a prime example.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
that's fair.
But I will say that computer science does give you some intuitive idea for how a computer works on the background, not necessarily hardware, but like
software,
how computers think.
Yeah. But the point is, like, we're using these hardwares and softwares that I would presume at least 99% of people have no idea how it works. I don't know how the internet works. I don't know how computers work.
Yeah.
I don't know where my food came from. I don't know where the sewage goes. It's like we use all these things on a daily basis, and there's such a big disconnect because we're not the ones actually doing the work. Like if you lived on a farm, you know exactly where your food is coming from because you're either butchering an animal, you're farming vegetables, whatever. Right. You know, you have to deal with your own sewage. You have to poop in a hole or whatever. And, you know, you have to figure it out on your own. But the thing is, we have everything kind of, you buy something, right? It's, you know, it's kind of like a transaction nowadays is you buy into a service or a product. Right. And you don't have to understand how it works. You just know that, oh, this is going to feed me. Oh, this is useful to me. But there's such a big disconnect. And I wonder if we can fill in that gap a little, that maybe that would kind of just help society as a whole. Like kind of just know what's going on around you, know where things come from.
I think it does definitely open your eyes. And one of the examples that I think of is that like basically I went to work with my uncle in Texas like for a summer. Like in like, I don't know, maybe like 10th grade or something. Like summer going from 10th to 11th grade, something like that. And he actually works doing fire sprinkler blueprint systems, right? So basically all the sprinkler systems that we have, they need someone to make the blueprints for where they're supposed to go, right? Because, you know, you have to optimize the amount of sprinkler systems in an area because you don't want to waste money putting tubes and sprinklers, and you probably don't want there to be a fire and for the water to not be able to reach, right? The crazy part is, and this I was so amazed by that and awed, but also kind of in shock, that fire sprinkler systems are not meant to put out a fire. Very much so.
What are they meant to do?
They're meant to give you enough time to get out of the building. And not only that, they're not meant to all be on at once. If, for some reason, like a whole bunch of them, like let's say a whole floor, like goes off with fire sprinklers, they will have very little pressure. I would be surprised if all of them actually
because they're all running through the same.
They're all running through the same.
Right?
Yeah. So if a building, even like if two floors, for some reason all the fire sprinkler systems like in the floors started to go off, there wouldn't be enough water. Some of the areas would just not have water, or all the areas would be like very scarcely.
Yeah, I mean, well, luckily things don't like spontaneously combust.
Yeah, which it makes sense, but at the same time, like it's not one of the things that you just regularly think about. You're just like, oh, fire sprinkler systems, they put out the fire or whatever. It's just like common thoughts, you know? But yeah, like I was kind of shocked, and again, this was me in like 10th grade, so take that for what you will. But yeah, like that kind of like opened my eyes to like, okay, how is it like positioned and, you know, all that stuff. So I feel like the same thing would happen if we just kind of knew how everything worked. We would just kind of take more of a notice.
Yeah, I think I'm really proud to be an engineer because of that, because it's the engineers that really do that work.
That's true.
They, you know, they are the architects of society. So even though I'm just like one little facet of engineering, I still do feel pretty good about, you know, really understanding the nitty-gritty of why we do the things that we do. At least in one thing, but then again, you know, I still don't know where the sewage goes. Right. You know, we should do like a series or something, that would be like talking about
sick. Like how stuff
stuff actually works. Yeah. You know, I think maybe there's a show on like Discovery that they used to do called
How Stuff Works.
How Stuff Works.
I used to watch that all the time. How Stuff is Made.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
Where they go into the factory.
Pasta, peanut butter.
That was the most interesting.
I love that show.
Right? It was so fun.
So they should do that for like, you know, big systems like sewage, you know, agriculture. Yeah. Because, you know, the thing that you said before, like, oh, you know, if you're an agricultural person, if you live on a farm, you know where your food's coming from. Yeah. I'm pretty sure farming is one of the leading contributors of like greenhouse gases, right? And
animal farming, specifically
consuming of water as well. Yeah. So, you know, the thing that we were talking about at the very beginning and the thing that we were talking about more recently are very interconnected. So maybe splaying it all out and, you know, just as it is, can help reveal some of those connections because it is very complicated.
Yeah.
Everything we talked about, plumbing, agriculture, it's all very complicated and everything kind of interweaves with each other. So maybe just examining a process from start to finish, like how it's made. Another show would probably be like Dirty Jobs. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where this guy, he goes out and he just does like nasty jobs that people do. So people that have to go into sewers and like unclog things. People who work with like pigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like really niche jobs.
Oh.
I think he just died.
Did it? You're saying waiting.
Oh my god. I mean, we have that recording. Do we just want to continue?
Theoretically, we do. I mean, we do have that recording. I don't know what the audio about, but
I mean, we can go for it. Do you guys want to go for it? Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we can.
All right, we'll pretend the mics are going.
yeah. Although
Sorry,
these things
guys.
don't work anymore.
I don't know why this recorder. We've had so many
Probably
problems
This
with
is
it.
going to
We
go
just
for
replaced-
budget.
We just replaced the battery too.
This is gonna go. We need one of these.
No, we don't need a Zune. The Zune has like been failing us so much. What we
Well,
need
I
is,
mean,
like,
one of this type of equipment.
We need
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we need a audio interface.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're. Wait, are we still like talking to the?
Yeah,
Camera.
we're
We
going
can
to
cut
camera.
this out.
No,
It's
they have
okay.
to see
You guys
what-
can
what
see the
it's
behind the
like.
scenes.
They
You can see
gotta
behind the
know
scenes.
why we're
So actually, here, like, if you want to kind of see our setup, so we have these like mics. We got a shock mount. We got
Shock mounts.
mic stands. Got pop filters, kind of help the saliva because we're
yeah,
Yeah,
we have some saliva.
We're very moist.
We're
people.
moist. Got headphones.
monitor audio.
And then these all
of course.
connect, so there's like this kind of like central recording device. But look, we're already starting our new tech no, like how stuff works.
Yeah.
So you have this. I mean, I don't know how these like all the signals like go through and everything, or
I mean,
like
it's
how
Oh,
just
it's
like
all
a regular
integrated.
microphone USB thing. It just kind of goes in.
It goes in, but like like how does it really work? You know?
Oh, like digital, like audio to analog. Like
Yeah,
digital
yeah.
to analog signals. Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a future episode maybe. But these are XLR cables, so these connect from the mics into the recorder. Then you obviously have the headphone cables. Everything kind of gets integrated here, saved on a SIM card when we record, and then we upload it to YouTube. And then obviously for the video, we'll sync it with the video
So-
recording. But anyways, what were you saying, John?
No, yeah.
Before
point
Zoom
is-
rudely cut you off.
This
Yeah,
guy
exactly.
does really niche jobs that only a few thousand people have,
Right.
and they tend to be pretty nasty. But it gives you an idea of what actually goes on. Like
Yeah.
people, there's 7 billion people on this planet. I don't think anybody really, or actually
Almost 8 billion.
almost 8
Yeah.
billion.
Or like 7.9, I think.
Yeah,
at this
so
point.
people don't actually understand how big that number is, and
That's like I can't even comprehend. that
how
number.
many friends do you have? Like 50, 100?
Much less.
Not even.
That pales in comparison to the amount of people in the world. And some people have to do those nasty
Yeah.
back end jobs that nobody ever sees or talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how stuff works. Dirty Jobs. Go watch it. It's really interesting, and it's a good precursor to what we're kind of talking about with explaining how these big systems work.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to, not even in a biased way where we point out where things can be improved.
Right.
Just to say how it is, and then if you don't like it, then you can fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, is that
Yeah.
you can propose something that could actually fix it. I think the audience that we're appealing to here are in a perfect position, right?
Yeah. Like,
We're in a perfect position to do something about it.
especially because we have. I would assume that most of you are around our age, like college age students. Hopefully, I mean there might be some older folk out there, but or younger. That works too. But basically, we have a lot of time to think about these things and actually do something with it. So just put in a few steps at a time and just keep working towards it.
Yeah, I mean, like it or not, I think our generation is kind of left with a lot of issues, but
Yeah.
also kind of the hope and knowledge and hopefully motivation. I know us are pretty motivated to kind of talk about these issues, not just talk about them, but also think about solutions and then execute those solutions.
Yeah.
Because in the end, I mean, things are not looking good. Like realistically, things are not looking that good. Like environmentally, I mean, you're the environmental engineer,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the climate is not doing great. We're kind of like sucking our planet dry of resources. I mean, fossil fuels are going to run out very soon, so we're going to have to start converting over to sustainable energy. Obviously, have the greenhouse gas problem. I mean, that's where things like I think lab-grown meat are actually going to be very, very useful. I gave a presentation on this in one of my classes, oral presentations, with Professor Smith, who's actually the advisor for this organization. But basically, it would save us, like, I believe, like 99% on like water and greenhouse gas emissions and stuff like that. So I think that could be a really good start, because the meat industry and dairy industry is so energy intensive and so costly. And if you think about the kind of just like animal costs, it's just horrible. So I always feel bad, like, just thinking about
one of the things
what
that
happens
I
to
like
animals.
just remembered is that like there's also kind of like an alternative to it, which is going through like insects. One of the things, and this is the thing, right?
That's true, actually.
One of the things that I remember is from like not like the way of life, just basically like in basic biology. Basically, as you go up from bottom to top, more things are needed for that apex predator at the top, right? So like a lot of animals eating a lot of grass, that grass goes to like a deer or something, right? That deer gets caught by like some predator. That predator might get caught by another predator. So as you go up the food chain, you get so little of the nutrition that the other animals got.
Yeah.
But if we go straight to another source, which is like insects, right? Like, for example, I can't remember what it was. It was like this company wanted to do like crickets or something. Basically ground them up into like its essence, which is like, you know, crickets by weight and size, they have a ton of protein.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
So if you're able to like basically get rid of the taste, get rid of the texture, have the essence of what it is, and incorporate it into something that you already eat, like a protein bar. You don't get any of the taste. The texture is the same as any other protein bar, but on the background, it is made from crickets or
That's
whatever
very smart.
insect.
That's very clever. However, I don't think a lot of people are gonna eat that if once they find out. You have to do a lot of blind taste tests.
I mean,
to convince
no, that's the
people.
thing. But like, how many people eat hot dogs?
That's true. You don't know what's in a hot dog.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
How many people eat McDonald's chicken nuggets?
That's true.
As long as you make it taste good, people will not care.
You gotta market it well.
Yeah. In the end, it's about the taste, right?
Yeah.
It's if it tastes good, then I don't think people care that much where it came from. Nor did they really question where it came from, to be honest.
Well, you know.
Well, if you don't tell them where it came
we
from.
see Impossible Meat, right?
Yeah.
Some people, every fiber of their being, they hate it.
Oh, I love Impossible.
It's just like meat. It's
delicious.
It's not the
Highly
same,
recommend.
but it's not
bad.
It's really
actually
good.
quite good. I mean, it was, crafted over
and
years
people
of
will just
engineering.
never give it a shot. Never even give it a shot.
Yeah.
Because they like their meat too much. And in the tiny monicum of their life, in comparison to the grand scheme of things, they just eat their burgers and nothing really bad happens because they don't live to see the effects of what happened.
Right.
We're kind of like at a turning point right now.
Yeah.
Where the Industrial Revolution, we're finally seeing the consequences. People have warned us for a long time that there will be consequences. And now, what is it? Like every month you see a new crazy weather event?
Yeah.
Right?
Like Hurricane Ian just now. I mean, that was wild for
Exactly.
Florida.
Exactly. So, and we can't pretend like it's normal. We can't, think, if we keep eating, burgers, we don't make a change because this is what I like, then, nothing bad will happen, because now we're finally starting to see the consequences of the mindset that people have, So we're at a real turning point in history. We are at the apex of the make or break moment of the human race.
Basically.
That's true, yeah.
So, if you could do anything, do it,
Yeah.
Even just a little thing like starting this little Futurism podcast, or giving us the time of day for like 30 minutes, something like that. It's meaningful. It gets you thinking, right? And then when you're finally faced with a problem that could, really help or really hurt, depending on which decision you make, hopefully you'll make the right decision. That's what this is all about, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the main takeaway from this. Just like I said, you don't have to like run a full marathon, right, to get to the finish line. You can just take steps and eventually get there. Like it's all about actually taking in the effort, not necessarily how much you do in a certain amount of time.
So I think the big idea is there are little things, little steps you can take in your life to kind of, reevaluate, like, where did this come from? Like, think about how things work. Think about areas in your life where maybe you could be a little more sustainable, right? Like, think about maybe turning off the light when you leave if you don't already do that, or turning off the tap when you brush your teeth, or maybe experimenting with a little more plant-based food, or, there's a lot of like different little steps that you can take, and there's billions of people on the earth, and if everyone just does a little bit of a thing, that adds up to a huge change. And it's kind of that like compounding effect of one person does it, then another person does it. So it's like, we're saying it, we're giving you this information, hopefully you spread it to more people, and they spread it to more people, and then hopefully it goes.
I think
keeps going.
a huge like factor to that is also the fact that basically this generation as well is kind of like a trendsetter type thing, right?
Yeah.
TikTok is a very powerful platform because it gets so many people doing stuff.
Yeah.
And demanding of people and companies to do certain things. And we've seen it over and over again. Maybe, because we know companies are the major factor in this, right? Even if all of our efforts are combined, if companies keep doing what they do, yeah, I'm not going to say it's no because we're making some change, but it's not enough.
It's true.
However, if we keep doing these things and these things become normalized and they become expected, or you expect these things from other people, you'll expect these things from companies, and companies have no other way but to appeal to you, right? Same thing with like politicians and votes. At the end of the day, sure, you might get a politician into power, but they kind of have to do the stuff they promise, at least somewhat, to keep your vote. Otherwise, you'll find someone else,
Yeah.
Even if they have to do the bare minimum is at least something.
No, you're right. That's like the bottom up approach is either you change the world from top down, right? Like the politicians can change the policies and enact change, or people can protest and demand that their policymakers make a change. So if enough of us say, this is what we want, then they have no choice but to listen to us. At least in the US, where we have, a semblance of a democracy, I would say.
Yeah.
It's feasible. Other places in the world, maybe a little bit harder. You probably have to do a more top-down approach, but if we can start here, we're a huge global superpower and can kind of influence international politics even. So I think if we can start, in the United States, then we can hopefully enact change worldwide as well. So I know we didn't get to your guys' topics. We'll tackle those in future episodes.
Love to go for another half an hour, but
for sure. Yeah, I honestly kind of like diving into one topic deeply. So maybe we'll stick with that. We're just gonna try something new, but it looks like once you start with something, you just can't let it go. But yeah, so hope you learned some valuable stuff. Thanks, John Ricardo, for some awesome conversation, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Futurism is back.
We're back.
We're back, and we're gonna be better.
And let us know if you like this like video format, or if you just prefer the audio. So, or you can we'll have both options, and you can choose your poison,
Basically,
your preferred option. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
All right. See ya.